So hi guys, welcome to another masterclass from SEOReseller, and as you're observing through what you're looking at, it's a totally different roster in play. I'll introduce myself first, and then
Sure.
the meat of everything comes from this guy. But name's Will, and I've been working with business development for the last 5 years here at SEOReseller. Really started out with the sales team. I've worked with a good number of partners, averaged about 30 partners a month at some point, but then it was really more about getting them used to how it was from the start, or just really in general what a white label agency was like, and especially how we do it. So it's been a good 5 years. What's different this year, though, is that we have Marcus with us.
Hey, so it's really good to be here and to be able to, I guess, talk from an agency's perspective, and also to be here because, I'm the new head of marketing for SEOReseller, actually.
Surprise.
So, surprise, guys! Things have been great so far. Like I said, I came from an agency background.
Yep.
And before that, I actually was working at freelancer.com and Warrior Forum, actually,
Right.
as the head of partnerships and marketing there. So I guess the experience of being able to help, internet marketers around the world has sort of dribbled me into going, oh, you know what, I want that dream for myself. And
Exactly, yeah.
I started my own agency, and I think, to be honest with you, I think that was one of the most enlightening paths for me, because when I first started the agency, it happened in an awkward time, because I was like, oh, am I ready to jump in? Am I not? And you kind of have that sort of, that second doubt with the fear. And true enough, I think where it came down to for me to see the results was when I just decided to take no fear into my actions.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, you know what? I'm going to move to the Philippines. So I've been here 4 months. And, just before I got here, I was messaging around on Facebook, asking a few friends, hey, does anybody know, anyone in Manila that they could introduce me to? I'm just starting an agency. And I remember, Clayton Wood, who was, the former marketing director. Hey, Clayton. Good to see you. Kind of. He was the one that actually recommended Itamar to me. So Itamar, as we know, runs SEOReseller. He's he's the founder of everything. And that experience was amazing. I met a guy who was just like, hey, come visit us. We'd love to have you here. And if you need space, just roll up in the office and get started. We have people around here that are best in the Philippines as far as talent is concerned. And to be honest with you, I was like, this seems too good to be true. What I mean? You had that sort of
a warm invite.
Yeah, it was such a warm invite. And I was like, you know what, let's see where this goes. And true enough, we got talking. I met Bernard as well, who was always open friendly. I haven't met anyone friendlier than that guy in my life. Humor is his own
and
league.
the energy.
Yeah,
endless.
He is. I call him a human Red Bull.
Actually, yeah.
And
that's a good one.
Yeah, it's a good one. But I remember when I first got here, I immediately just fell in love with what was going on. I knew about SEOReseller before.
Mm-hmm.
And that was when I was working at Warrior Forum, and as head of partnerships and marketing, you come across a lot of these brands, and I was like, oh, I definitely know you guys. Like, you guys have been around for 9 years now, and you've been helping all these agencies. I have a few of the people that I used to speak to at Warrior Forum, who utilize some of the services as well. So when I first got started with my agency, Itamar was sort of nice enough to be like, hey, while you're here, start an account, trial it, let us know what you think. And fair enough, everything sort of fell into place. Like, I didn't really expect it to fall into that way. And I think for me, Itamar was just, I don't want to sound like I'm cocky or anything, but he was just like, oh, actually, I like the way you were thinking about, from product perspective, from an agent perspective. Do you want to come and help our marketing team a little bit? And that was where the journey kicked in for me, and I was really, really happy and excited to get on board, because I got to meet an entire sales team. I got to meet the marketing team, the engineers,
everybody behind the scenes.
Exactly. And look, to be honest, they don't get enough credit. I really don't think they get enough credit. Like, from the SaaS software through to the services, I think everybody that's working in content writing and web dev, they're an amazing bunch of people. And it's just so rare to find a company that's just like an incubation for all this talent.
Exactly.
Yeah. So I'm very, very excited to be on board, and to get started here. Actually, really excited.
It's interesting how you mentioned where you came in with the intent to start your own agency. You happen to meet the right people.
Yeah.
You leverage your connections, and then you found us, right, through Edamar, and then through Clayton to Edamar, and you met Bernard, the entire team. So if you had actually been here, like maybe 2 years or 3 years ago, what we built up to this point has always been about agencies, like you guys. So that's why we're actually doing this, just to set everybody's expectations. We want to show you from a marketing director's perspective, and from a partner who's about to just get started, what his first impressions have been so far. So he's giving you two things: what it's like from the inside and what it was like coming in from the outside. So.
I appreciate that too. I think for me, having started an agency, you know, everybody is gun-ho.
Yeah.
You know, everybody has that energy, everybody has that passion to just go, you know what, now's the time, now's better than ever for me to just go start an agency. The issue is not everybody has the resources to do it.
Right.
So and that falls into the factors of, I don't have enough money, I don't have enough knowledge, I don't have the sales skills, all these little things. And I think for me, that's where I've always loved helping people. And it got to a point where I'm just like, I'm knowledgeable enough now that I've helped all these people build these amazing agencies around the world, from USA, UK, Australia.
Yeah.
You know, I think, you know what, now's the time for me. And, you know, when I first got started, like I have a background in web development as well. So, you know, marketing was part of it, but web dev and photography, you know, I did all of it. And all three I found sort of built me up to the point where I was like, I'm ready now. So for anybody who's on that journey, you know, you won't feel any greater feeling than closing your first web dev client.
That's very true.
Yeah.
That's
like your first web dev client where you're just like, I could do this for you. And they're like, cool, great, let's go. That is, to get a yes response on your very first sale is the most amazing feeling. And for me, it was kind of uncanny, because when I arrived here, you know, I was caught between a rock and a hard place, because I was sort of just flew in, you know, meeting a whole bunch of new people. And when I signed up, I remember it was actually April 10 was when I started actively using the platform.
Okay.
Before that, I was already, you know, helping out bits and pieces as well.
Right here,
but,
internally.
Yeah, internally. And April 10 was the first day, and I remember I was just online. I was like, okay, I need to work out how to get leads. Right. This is before I started using the lead generator in SEOReseller. I was like, okay, I need to know how to get leads. So I just messaged a few friends saying, hey, do you guys need any web dev done? Do you have any friends that do?
Right.
And true enough, I got a few leads. And the first thing that I did was I went on SEOReseller. I was like, free audit tool, cool, let's try that. And the moment that I did, I generated, I think it was like 6 or 7 audits, sent them out to all of the leads that I got through.
Yeah, your
like
network,
I got about like 8 or 9, but 2 of them kind of just look, to be honest with you, 2 of them kind of never got back to me. And I think that's something every agency goes through, is that you know, there's a point where you just let things live and die.
Yeah, it's all about timing.
Yeah, so it's all about timing. But those 6 or 7 audits that I sent out, I closed about 8,000 USD in 9 days.
Oh, there, that was my question. Like, how long did it take you? 9 days.
9 days, 8,000 USD, recurring.
Whew, that's pretty good.
Recurring of that's probably close to about 6, because I did 2 web dev projects,
right?
And the rest were all based on local SEO. So with the local SEO side, I was like, the first thing I did was like, oh, do they have a Google My Business listing? Yes, no, some did, some didn't, but you could immediately spot flaws. Like coming from the perspective of, actually, before I get into that, you know what actually helped me the most with getting these leads was not just the web audit,
right?
Was actually looking at the packages in the store. I went through and I was reading them, and I was like, okay, this is what the first month is like, so this is what my first pitch should be.
Yeah, because we try to outline the.
Yeah.
You guys have seen that the packages actually have deliverables and expectations on timeline. So. Yeah,
and that was one of the first things that you know, I encountered, and I was like going through it with funny enough, I actually had the SEO sales screen on my computer while I was on the phone. I was like listing out all the different options and going, okay, we need to do research for your local market. We need to optimize the GMB page. We need to have a GMB page to start with.
Right. So,
you know, we need to get reviews on there. We need to get all your contact numbers correct, all your details, your address, everything has to be on there. And you break it down into really simple points for someone to digest.
Yeah.
You know, a client that's never done local SEO before, they're not going to know all these things.
No, they're not. They're
right?
not.
But breaking it down into those digestible points really, really helped me sell. And that's due to the way that the format was done on SEOReseller. So taking my, I guess, journey from going no leads to me asking friends, to me doing audits, to me reading through the local SEO side,
right?
As far as the first month expectations are concerned, to then be on the phone and close.
Addressing all the opportunities.
All the opportunities there,
Did you, by any chance, was there any point in that process or that journey that you went through where you spoke to somebody from our side?
Actually, I did. Tim.
Tim, business development.
Yeah. Hey, Tim. Tim was really, really helpful. He sort of came in at. It was a really tricky point for me.
Right.
Because I'd actually just got off the phone with a few clients, and then Tim goes
after sending the audit, or
after sending the audits.
Okay.
So I'd already, because I'm quick to move.
Right.
That's if anything with being an agency, you need to be super fast to move.
Snappy,
because if you don't send it, somebody else is going to send it, and they're going to beat to the client.
Exactly.
So for me, it was just immediate. Okay, proactive, reactive. Right, proactive in sending out the web audit. Reactive as grab their attention and start pitching. Right. That's it's cookie cutter. It's super cookie cutter.
But
and
it works.
Oh yeah, it works. And Tim came in at a point where I was like, okay, I've closed these clients, but I'm stuck.
Yeah, what's next?
What's next?
Right.
And for me, look, I'll be honest with you. I'm a greedy guy. Like we're like
salesman. So
everybody in sales is greedy. So for me, when I first started, because I have the web dev experience. A lot of my focus was going on board of saying, I can do this. I can do that. I can do all of this. This is child's play, right?
Right.
But the thing is, it's not scalable, and that was probably the biggest lesson that Tim sort of
painted for you right at the start.
Yeah, painted for me and really dug into me is that for you to actually grow a business, right, you need to free up as much of your time as possible. And what takes the most time out of any web or digital marketing agency is the fulfillment. It's the fulfillment, because the fulfillment does not close more sales, doesn't make more money. It's only helping you accomplish what you've been paid for.
What you committed to, right?
What you're committed to. And I think that was one of the best lessons that I learned from Tim when I was getting started. And I won't lie, I was really defensive about it. I was like, yeah, it's okay. Look, maybe I'll give you one. And Tim was good enough to be like, no, you should give us all of them. And I was like, I don't know. These are new clients. These are also friends of friends.
Right.
And you kind of want to. You don't want to break that rapport with your friends either, right?
Exactly.
And Tim was like, okay, I'm going to show you everything that you need to know for the first client, and then you tell me if you want to go ahead.
Right.
And I was like, this guy is such a sales guy. I was like, this guy knows how to sell. Okay, if he knows how to sell, I trust him.
Right.
Because coming from a sales background as well, you can sort of tell if somebody can pitch a good salesperson a sale, you know that there's something to trust about it. You know that the deliverable is there. So I was like, okay, let's risk it. If anything, it's 1 month worth of work. I can always start again next month or do something else. But I went ahead. I got 2 web dev projects done.
So you lined up the 2
Yeah, I lined up the 2 web dev. They were the first 2 before I stepped into the SEO.
Right.
Because I negotiated with Tim saying, I can't give you all just now. Look, let's start with the web dev ones and see how we go. And it was a really interesting journey with that, because the thing for me that I always found the most difficult was getting information from the client.
Right.
When it came down to it, like the client was like, yeah, sure, look, send us an invoice, we'll pay and we'll just get started.
Yeah. Fill out something.
Yeah, sure. I sent the invoice via PayPal, because that's kind of what every agency does when they start. They just use PayPal.
Yeah.
I sent it out within probably 20 minutes of closing them. They paid. And after that, it took literally days to get content from them. To go...
Not weeks.
Just days, right? And...
Yeah, that's pretty fast. That's still pretty fast.
Oh no, for me it felt like a long time.
Wow.
Because I'm chasing them, and and probably like, I guess you can't say weeks. It's like 9 to 10 days it took me for my first one, and I remember being on on the phone with Tim. He bugged me for 3 days straight.
Yeah.
Have you got the content ready? No, I'm sorry. Get
Yeah.
the content. Okay.
I was like, all right, I have content for this page, but you still need to give me this. This is a little. So he was a little anal like that.
Yeah. So he was really directive, which is what I liked. Like, you know, when you're sort of starting out,
Yeah.
telling somebody how to do something is always easier than doing it yourself.
Right.
Right.
But the funny thing is, some agencies that start with us, the assumption is, and I think a bit from your story.
Yeah.
So here's you knowing that you can do most of the things that you initially said, because you didn't have us in mind when you got these clients, right? Because you just wanted to use the audit tool.
I just used the audit tool.
Right.
Yeah.
And then out of curiosity, went over to Tim, had a conversation with him. Now it was a question of like, how much work can you take away from me?
Yeah.
And then, so you eventually realize it goes both ways.
Yeah.
Some agencies, when they start with us, and so I'm trying to break this this misconception that everything, once you pay and it's prepaid and everything, it all goes to us. At the beginning, though, there's a strong requirement for you to be there with us. Our writers, everybody with the creatives, our SEOs, we still need to understand the brand. Like, I'm sure Tim, through that sales process that he was going through with you, especially the intake, was doing his best to understand what the project was like.
Yeah, actually, I give credit to Tim because it was really funny, like the interactions I have with him, because I'm physically here too.
Right. So
I didn't step over the other side of the office where he's based. So for the first 2 weeks when I'm on the phone with him, he had no idea I was sitting in this side.
I remember.
He had no idea. I was like, I'm just gonna string this along and see how long this goes for. And eventually he worked out that Marcus is on. Oh, okay.
Oh, that's St. Marcus.
That's the annoying guy.
He works here.
But it was pretty interesting because as I was going through, like I said, for 3 days straight, Tim would not stop calling me, right? And I never expected that. I don't think anybody should expect that, because if anybody's chasing up for 3 days, and I've already paid,
Right.
I've already paid for these services. Tim's just trying to book me in for a slot because he knows. The first thing he said to me was, there are a lot of projects going on at the moment. I need to book these in ASAP for you to get these done within the next 2 weeks. You know, like, we really, really need this content.
Yeah.
And, eventually got to the point where, the client submitted to me like their logo, their tagline. They basically sent me a PDF brochure of their company. And I was like, okay, I have this content. All right, I'm going to break it down. So I got about 95% of the content.
Yeah.
And Tim was like, okay, cool. The last thing I needed to do, which I would have never expected my client to do,
Right.
buy their domain.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I set them up on my reseller hosting. So then I can still get money from that too, by the way. So really good little thing. Buy reseller hosting, sell as much as you can. And the second thing was set up their G Suite account. Makes sense, right?
Yeah, you're right. You said that they didn't actually have a GMB.
Yeah.
So everything was pretty much from scratch.
Everything was pretty much from scratch. So I had to set up their G Suite account. So I set up their own emails, set up everything. And that was kind of like the last 5%. And I felt like, okay, if I don't give this, then they're not going to be able to, like, Tim and the team are not going to be able to fulfill the services up to the point that I need them to.
Right.
For me to then go, here it is, to the client. Right. It was kind of funny because he pushed me to a point, and I say pushed because he really did push on me, to a point where I called my client at 7 o'clock at night going, hey, can you just send me a brochure? That was the whole point of conversation. And one of the uncanny things was when I like I said, when I got the PDF, I dismantled everything and gave it to Tim. Tim immediately went, okay, I'm booking it in Thursday. It'll be ready by next Friday. Right. And I was like, okay, great. If you need anything, just tell me.
Yes.
Yeah, that was the first thing. I knew that to build a website with like 5 pages, because they were also generating some of the content for me as well for my client. Mm-hmm. To do that, in my perspective, I felt like, okay, I need to tell my client an extra week. I need to have that contingency for myself.
You need a buffer in there.
I need a buffer, right? And that's just safeguarding. That's all that is. So my client has the expectation to go, okay, this is going to be in 2 weeks' time. Tim told me it's going to be 8 days roughly.
Yeah.
So I still had a little bit of time just to check things over and make sure that everything's okay and
set you up for an under promise and over deliver.
Exactly. Yeah. So that was one of the best experiences that I had because Tim delivered. He delivered on the Friday, and I looked over the content. To me, there was probably like one thing that was wrong, which was the phone number, but that was my mistake because I gave 2 landlines, and the client didn't tell me which landline was their true landline to use. So I was like, okay, let's pair this up, make sure it's right, and that was it. I delivered it to the client on a Tuesday, but I'd promised it to them on a Friday. Yeah. And they were like, oh, it's done. And I was like, yeah, can you review this, make sure all the information is correct? And true enough, as a normal client, they took a week to review the website.
Of course, because they're looking at something that wasn't there before.
That wasn't there
like,
before.
I have a part to play in this. This is my website. So of course, I'll definitely give input. And it's that's another side to it.
For me, like pulling back a little bit, right? It came down to them looking at their own content.
Yeah.
This was for a photographic website, bear in mind. So, and it helped because I have that photographic background. Yeah. See the pairing?
Yeah.
I'll explain a little bit more about that later too. So, when it came down to it, I knew what needed to be on that page. The client knew what needed to be on that page.
Right.
So as they're reading through, they're like, this content is awesome. Right. They're looking at how a contact form, right? And it's so simple. A contact form for workshops was an idea that I inspired to them.
Yeah.
Because they never considered doing workshops before. They only considered selling photographic equipment and renting out.
So you gave them another line of business.
I gave them another line of business.
Right.
Because I had that sort of foresight for them because I had the industry knowledge. So for me, it was being like, okay, now that I've set you up, you're going to need local SEO. You're going to need competitive SEO because you're dealing with other brands. You're going to need PPC. You're going to need social media. So all these things started to aggregate conversations. And when it came to the time of it, at the moment, they're still my client. They're actually a local SEO client of mine still.
Yeah.
So one of the key things that I guess helped that relationship build a lot better was being able to talk their language. Building that rapport, bringing them in, and just being able to just, I guess you could say, slide them into the right position to make choices that are going to influence what I do for them.
Yeah,
so
influencing.
And I know it sounds like it's a big feedback loop, as what I just mentioned, but it kind of is.
Yeah.
When they say to me, we want to accelerate our camera sales, great. You've got organic, let's do PPC. Right?
Exactly.
And it's just a massive feedback loop, right? They tell me that, I tell them this. So, that was, I guess you could say, the first real experience that I had working with Tim, getting it down from web dev to local SEO to PPC. All 3, 1, 2, 3 with them. So it was pretty interesting seeing that process. And funnily enough, as that was sort of tailoring out as well for me, I was also investing in other packages for my other clients.
Nice.
Yeah. Well, because I was like, man, like Tim's ushering me like this much for this client. Yeah, I need to throw more in because he's chasing me.
Right.
When a fulfillment service chases me for content that they need to finalize and they've already been paid, 100% they have my trust.
Exactly.
So that was, I guess you could say, my agency experience with coming from the service side. Yeah.
No, but the one thing that's interesting and the dynamics that you had with the client and even working with us, to how you were getting the content and how you were even, it shows that you have a good understanding of the synergy that tends to be in play.
Oh yeah.
Especially at the start, because most agencies, that's the big question. Almost like less than 5 seconds for you to intro into that, but most people get stuck on like, who do I approach first?
Yeah.
What kind of business am I? I mean, should I focus on a niche and everything? We've addressed those in other webinars, but in Marcus's case, you immediately leveraged your personal network and industries that you already were a part of. So the lingo was there, and I'm sure since that was the first website these guys ever put up.
Yeah. Right?
And then your first experience with a white label agency.
Correct. That was my first experience.
Bit of hesitation at the start.
Yeah, because I never considered, the funny thing is I worked for an outsourcing company, well, freelancer.com,
exactly.
But I'd never considered outsourcing any of my own clients. Yeah. Like outsourcing the work for my own clients. I never considered that. I never considered it because I expected if I outsource and they communicate. But it doesn't work that way. It needs to be, whoever you outsource to communicates to you.
Yeah.
You cross-check everything to present to your client. That's honestly the best way to deal with any form of outsourcing, I find.
Right.
With, I guess you could say, my interactions with Tim, it sort of set me up. It set me up in more ways than one, and I'll explain, because I like the way that this goes.
Yeah.
So he set me up to succeed, and I'm not saying this because Tim's a nice guy or whatever,
or you work here.
Yeah, or maybe. No, I'm kidding. But he did set me up to succeed.
Yeah.
In more ways than one. And what I mean by that is, I was very much in the agency mentality of, I'm going to grow my team, I'm going to grow my business, it's me.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And everybody gets caught in that because it's an ego game.
Especially in the beginning.
In the beginning, it's a massive ego game.
It's only you, so.
Yeah, and I know friends of mine that are starting agencies, and they've spent 4 months working on their website and 4 hours on sales.
Yeah.
It doesn't pair up. And for me, the way that Tim set me up was, he took. I hate to admit that I'm wrong. It's actually hurting my pride. But he took, I guess, that mentality of going, this is my agency, I'm running this, I appreciate using your tools, whatever.
Right.
He took that mentality and reshaped it to go, are you thinking to scale? Really? You're a good salesperson, he said it to me. Yeah. Like I said, good salespeople can sell to good people. He said to me,
exactly.
You're a good salesperson, but what's your limitations? And I said to him, manpower. And he's like, so just use us. And I was just like, there it is.
This is the beginning.
This
right?
is the very beginning, yeah.
Yeah.
And he said to me, he's like, we have all the tools. We have the people here that we have to help you fulfill all your services. So if you're focusing on just selling, because you're a great sales guy, just do that.
Yeah.
You just need to maintain your clients and just talk to them. That's
right.
it.
Face forward.
Face forward.
Everything
behind me is taken care of. And I was like, okay, you know what? Like it started to make sense. It didn't make sense immediately, but the more clients that I got, the more that I found myself suffocating,
right.
because I was trying to hold on to them myself, and it just becomes that sort of greed mentality. And I was just like, I can't do this. I need to. Okay, I'll pay for this one. I'll pay for this one. I'll pay for this one, just to get it done. And true enough, it freed up so much more of my time to focus on scaling my agency. And it got to the point where he was like, so you've used our web audit, you've used, our fulfillment services.
Yeah.
What's next for you? And I was like, what else you got?
Yeah, there you go. There you go.
There we go. I was like,
there's the shit.
What else you got? And he's like, okay, spend a few more time, a bit more time on the dashboard, have a poke around, right? And just see how it works for you. And I was like, okay. And this actually came just as the new tools came out.
Yeah.
Yeah, like the revamp and the update. So the marketing automation got updated because we can now edit and create our own proposals.
Right.
The lead generator is still there. The web audit got a nice paint lick. Like it just looks amazing now.
Yeah. And a good grading system
and
too.
Amazing grading system.
Yeah.
So you have your A to F, so your clients can sort of understand what level their business is at with, how well structured is their website, how active are they on social, all these little things that they don't really take in consideration unless it's right there in their face.
Yeah.
But going through, like I said, the web audit tool, the CRM, the lead generator, and the proposal builder as well. So all these little things sort of came into place, and there was a really, really nice flow for me, because now I worked out, okay, lead generator, and being a lead generator, I was like, okay, first thing I'm going to do, let's plug this in. I'm from Sydney, Australia, so I was like, okay, let's go to Sydney, Australia.
Yeah.
Let's go Sydney. Let's type in photography and see what pops up. I could probably say the top 20 results were friends of mine from Sydney. I knew a lot of them already, and I was just like, oh, here's all their links, here's all of their content, but here's what's missing. This guy's not doing a PPC campaign. This guy doesn't have a Facebook page. This guy doesn't have, a GMB page properly set up. So I was like, I could just reach out to all of them and just be like, hey, I now run an agency. So that's exactly what I did. I picked the low-hanging fruits as immediately as possible because I knew it's quick, easy gains. And it's not about trying to chase down Uber as a client. It's about trying to chase down what's quick, what's easy, what's now when you're just starting out. So that's effectively what I did. So I used the lead.
Question though, but how did you avoid the choice paradox between like, but I want large clients or small clients?
For small clients, right? For me, it was a bit of a game. Yeah. And I'll lead into that as well, because for me it was, let's practice with the small guys. Let's practice my pitch. Let's get that rock solid as possible.
It's you admitting that.
Yeah. Right. You kind of
thanks
admit.
To Tim and
thanks to Tim. Yeah. Thanks, buddy. God, I hate that he's right. But you know, and it helped with the first 20. Yeah. Because that was still custom, and I still had that old agency mentality. Right. But when I got to names that I wasn't familiar with, I used to cherry pick. So I would be like, okay, let's export this list. These people don't have this. So for like the 30 of them, right, let's take them. They don't have a GMB page. Let's take them. Let's try to pitch them local SEO, for instance, right? So I took the first 10. I created a template. I emailed them through the marketing automation. Right. 3 responded, and it popped up in my leads. So it popped up as a hot lead. And I was like, oh, cool. Okay, they responded to me. Plugged them into the contact of the CRM, and was just on the phone with them. Right. I just did name drops.
It's like crazy.
I was like, oh yeah, I know this. Like, you know, I know this person. You've worked with them. They're a videographer. You're a photographer, kind of situation. So I tried to build that trust as much as possible. And once I got into the flow of that, it became so much easier for me to go to the next 30 that didn't have, you know, a Facebook page, for instance. And I just kept optimizing my pitch every single time, because
another drip on this side.
It was another drip, yeah. And for me, it was like, okay, if I can maneuver, let's say for instance, you know, 3 out of 10, that's a 30% conversion rate, right? Let's think about it.
Well, your conversion rate's pretty high.
That's honestly a very good high. Like that's a very good high. That's a very good conversion rate, right? So you know, it's a really good conversion rate. But I think that all came down to, I guess, the past, you know, 11 years of literally cold emailing experience that I've got. But I learned to optimize the pitch to the small guys as best as I could, so that when I came to the guys that had everything already, right, my pitch was as strong as it could be. I knew that they'd have everything set up, and it was my responsibility now to be like, hey, I could accelerate your business further, right? And that kind of conversation is more challenging, because if you haven't done your research about your clients, you're never going to close them.
Exactly.
Yeah, and with the small guys that have got everything set up, if you can win them, that's where you know you're ready to take on the big clients. Like that's when you start chasing down, you know, your big companies, because
every little victory, right?
Every little victory, because no matter what, the big guys are going to throw you questions that you've already answered with the little guys. So it doesn't matter if you lost $750 as an opportunity, but it's going to matter when you lose, you know, a $7,500 opportunity. Yes. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Because you can't repitch that.
And the ego of it.
Oh, the ego. Yeah, the ego hurts if you lose a big client. It doesn't hurt so much when you lose a small client. So for me, that was a really good balancing act between the two.
So you mentioned that. So we've talked about like how you started your first 2 web design projects, and then now how you're pretty much trying to find the next batch of leads that you're working with. How long have you been working with us?
Doing this
no, sorry, not with the marketing, but with like the agency.
But with the agency in general. So the agency in general, I sort of kicked off around February. Right. But utilizing SEOReseller's tools like the web audit, for instance, really only kicked in about April 10.
Exactly.
Yeah, that was the date that everything kind of just made motion for me to just be like, okay, I'm serious about this now.
So, February, March, April. It's about 3 months.
About 3 months in, yeah. And I had, you know, a handful of clients. It brought in, you know, back then I was probably doing about maybe 3,000 or 4,000 a month. Yeah. Just because I was filling up myself. Now, you know, it's comfortable in the 5 figures. I like living in the 5 figures with this, to be honest.
Right, no,
you know,
that's good. It's
good. A lot nicer, you know, in what took, like 8-9 weeks versus the first 3 months of me setting up, I just scaled.
Exactly.
Right, and I couldn't do that without having somebody help me with the fulfillment side.
And I guess my next question is, so do you feel that within the first 3 months before you reached April 10, because I think a different mindset was in play,
Yeah.
did you feel that you had enough education and training in terms of like how the process is on our side? So everything from our side, did you feel that you were educated enough? And
No.
no, and that's where his marketing head of marketing manager comes in.
Yeah.
That role plays.
Yeah. No.
Yeah.
I look, to be honest with you, I didn't. But I took the time and the effort when I was in conversation with Tim.
Yeah.
I took the time and the effort to actually try to understand as best as I can. And the reason why I say try as best I can is because it still took a little bit of Tim to educate me, being, oh, okay, you just bought a package. Okay, you can't, you can't just buy a package. You need to attach it to a client. So I was like, okay, how do I do that? And it was like, set a new campaign, attach a service to the campaign. That campaign now belongs to yourself and the client.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, wow, okay, that's simple, right? It's nothing complicated about it. If I wanted to add, let's say, for instance, PPC or social media marketing to it, it's just go to campaign, buy, add to cart, check out, happy days.
Right.
Just easy. Like I didn't have to worry, and when it came down to it, I had one interesting client actually, who they sell water guns. Interesting niche. They
Here
sell,
or outside?
No, in Australia.
Nice.
They sell
Okay.
they sell water guns. Hyper niche market.
Right.
Summer's just ended in Australia.
Yeah.
But they're like, we don't know what to do with it. Like, this is probably going to be like the next 8 months of of death. Like, we're not going to have any business. And I was like, oh man, okay, how do I pitch this? How do I because they pulled up for some reason in like a network of mine.
Yeah.
Because they were like, we don't know how to sustain this. It's an e-commerce site. And I said to them, okay, let's think about this. Your first priority is to stay relevant.
Exactly.
Right. How do you stay relevant? Well, social's going to help you, and reputation management. Right. They're the two things. So, and funnily enough, it was like a day before that, Tim was the one that was telling me about reputation management.
Yeah.
Where you sort of be more aware of where your brand is being displayed, right? And who's talking about you. So social helps you engage, or your clients engage in a two-way manner. So for me, it was like, okay, for you guys to stay relevant, we need to start building your audience now. Like,
oh,
ASAP.
so they actually didn't have anything.
Oh man, they had 100 likes on their page.
Oh,
Yeah.
no, that's good. That's good for us.
I mean, 100 likes, it's okay, because they took on board everybody that, near the end of their sale period,
Yeah.
they took on board everybody to start liking their page. That was just an off the tongue recommendation, and
Yeah.
they got 100. I'm pretty proud of them for doing that in less than a week.
Yeah.
But then their struggle at the moment was to stay relevant, and I was like, okay, we need to start creating content. We need to start looking at alternative avenues.
Right.
Do you have any other products? And they're like, well, we have bubble machines. And I was like, okay, bubble machines. You know what? Photographers would love bubble machines. So what do?
All right. So see how you did this.
Exactly, right? So I was like, okay, let's try pitching bubble machines to weddings. To these are the keywords you want to start targeting. You want to start targeting weddings, Sydney. Wedding photographers, Sydney. Right?
Bubble machines, weddings.
Yeah. And you just sort of, and it was just like, that was the angle. You would have never guessed it. And to be honest with you, it just kind of just fell into place. I was just like, wow, okay, like the rule of relevancy really works. You take what you know and you try to apply it to a client. And it really, really helped, particularly with getting them started on social. Because they were like, oh, okay, so we can actually do content about this. So it became more and more about, okay, what content do we need?
Yeah.
Let's, how often do we need to post? And, we started them on social media. That was like one post per week and, a couple of hours of moderation. And they're happy to review their own stuff.
Right.
But to really optimize their page, man, their description was hilarious. The description was Water Guns Sydney. Like, really? You know what I mean? We're here, yeah. So, when when Tim helped me set up the package for them.
Tim was still helping you.
Tim was still helping me.
Okay,
Man.
all
Tim's
right.
still helping me today. Tim, I love Tim. He's like one of my favorite guys. If
right.
anybody gets Tim, you're in luck.
Awesome.
The thing is, for me, it was just like, okay, this is one of the first social campaigns I'm going to do with these guys. So, hey, I said to my client, do you guys mind if we add ourselves in as an admin account,
right?
Which I set up, which is a similar scenario for setting up those GMB pages, because my client's not going to know, so I had to set it up for them. And actually, funnily enough, just like a couple of weeks ago, Google announced agencies can now create GMB pages for their clients. Exactly. And for me, it was like, okay, I worked out the scalability method for my clients. I create a single account that I give access to all the fulfillment teams
on our side,
on our side, well, your side in this instance, to your side, and that's it. That's how they can access Google, AdWords, Google Search Console. This one account that I have is like a master account that I have specifically for SEO Reseller, and it's tied to my domain, but it has access to all these different assets for my clients. So I specifically set it up.
Yeah. So because originally when you were talking about this, I was like, top of mind.
Yeah.
Just making sure, but you found a different opportunity here. That's pretty good. Did they end up? Were they doing PPC at some point, or AdWords, or any type
They didn't actually. I'm still yet to pitch that to them. I'm waiting for how you wait for the right time to sort of pitch PPC. Yeah. You always sort of you have to find just that moment. And I always typically find, for me, it's when we can get organic ranking that we start to go, okay, your organic is hitting first page. We're coming up, third, second, first results in some instances. You know what? To really accelerate this, we need to start doing PPC. And a lot of them have no idea what it means when I say PPC. Mm-hmm. But the moment I say we need to do Google AdWords, they're like, oh, okay, I get it.
Yeah, or paid advertising.
So, it's like, it's weird. It's like, obviously, breaking down the verbiage to a client level, be as basic as possible. I always find. And for me, I was like, I had, actually, this was the web dev client for photography. Yeah, photography, we did local. I skipped organic with them at the time. Which is, in my hindsight, is a missed opportunity at the moment. So I probably need to aggregate that. But with the local SEO side, they started to rank first. For their, unfortunately I can't say their names, but like they started to rank first for this specific brand in Sydney. Now, when I started reaching out to them, going, hey, you need to do PPC, they were like, okay, how much? And I was like, you need to spend at least $1,000. And they were like, that's a lot. And I was like, I don't think you understand how small that is. You know what I mean? Like,
right. So this is where you started that.
And this is, and I was like saying to them, I was like, ideally, we should be hitting 2,000 to 3,000. And they're like, that's a lot of money to spend on PPC. And I was like, okay, so how about this? And I was an idiot too. I took a really big risk. Okay. So I said to them, spend $1,000, right? If you don't make back the $1,000 in sales, I'll pay you back $1,000. So I guaranteed them $1,000.
So this is the ad spend and the management fee?
And the management fee. I did the management fee. I also paid SEO. So I was like nearly $2,000 at loss here, right?
Okay.
But they went through. We did the research.
Hook, so.
That was my hook. Did the research, provided the execution of actually getting the ads running, and all it took was 2 sales. That's it. 2 sales. They did.
Oh, that would make sense. That's right.
Because keep in mind, these cameras are like worth like $6,000-$7,000 in kits. So they were like, okay, we're going to spend more.
Yeah, exactly. That was just $1,000.
That was just $1,000.
Yeah.
So now they're spending about $3,500.
And how long has it been running already?
About 3 weeks.
Nice.
So it was really quick for them to see results. I think that has always been the crux. And I'll be honest with you, it was also a super lucky situation for the client, for myself as well, because I guaranteed that funds. They were lucky because to get that amount with only $1,000 ad spend, you know what I mean? Like that's pretty intense. So for them, they saw the immediate value and they were like, okay, we're spending more. We're putting more money into this.
Right.
Because they saw the return they saw the fact that, okay, these are new customers. We're selling specialized photographic equipment. We can't find them easily, right? They're not easy to find. So I understood from my client's perspective what they needed, and that really bridged the rapport.
Gap, right?
Yeah, that gap of rapport was just gone. They just trusted me 100%.
And this is the second thing that you've proven to them that
Yeah.
actually works.
Yeah.
For something that's so intangible.
Yeah. And the funny thing is, they're opening up a Thai restaurant in a couple of weeks. So to think about that,
you got your hands in there too.
I have my hands in that too right now. So, and I would have never expected it, because to go from a client who's in photographics to go, build a website, go local SEO, go PPC,
right,
to now go to another business of theirs to repeat the entire process.
That's awesome.
So it's a replication. So, and I think that's sort of a foresight that's really hard to see at the start. Particularly coming from, if I was to go into the old agency mentality, it's churn and burn. Get as many clients as you can, and try to make them last as long as possible. Like sprint until you're out of breath with them, right? And that could be 4 or 5 months. I expect this client to be with me for at least a year.
Oh, that's
minimum.
better. That's actually better.
Minimum, because I set the expectation for them, right? When I said to them, local SEO, it takes time, right? They're already ranking first in the maps anyway.
Yeah.
But I said to them, for you to sustain this, it's going to take time. It's going to take 4 to 5 months at least, right? Of continuing on with this. Now, on month 4, month 5, you might not notice too much changes because the optimization can only get to a certain point. And I was really transparent with that.
Yeah.
Really, really transparent with that. And they just listen because of that transparency.
No, you know what? I'm really happy for you, Marcus, because we've talked off camera, and actually some of you guys know that at some point I tried to also set my own agency. This a good number of years ago. That didn't work out for me, but even me being here in SEO Reseller and hearing the success stories of you guys and how important, we have a role to play in it, of course, right? But the amazing thing is, now that I look back at where everything was for me, not understanding the fundamentals, being too hard gripped on some of the things that I thought was supposed to be what it was.
Yeah.
But like hearing your story, like you allowed to break down the walls, you leaned on what was familiar, and you had an open mind to where everything was, and even listening to like how your clients are now with you, that's awesome. That's how it's supposed to be done.
Yeah.
And here's probably the biggest question I'll have for you. So all the experience that you took from this, how are you? What is that gonna entail?
Oh yeah, this is the juicy part.
Right?
So, I think coming from that, I'm not gonna lie, I've been through a really, really unique situation.
Yeah.
Where I've been in product marketing for 3 years. I've run my own agency for a few months now. So I have that experience of going, okay, this is how people do it on their own, right? This is the exact struggles that everybody goes through. So for me, what I look forward to is telling these people, telling agencies, telling our community, and sharing with them, these are the pain points that you're going to have. But more importantly, and this is the fun part, these are the resolutions.
Yeah, there are resolutions.
There are resolutions to these, and it's not resolutions that are particularly orthodox or you might be able to say, oh, I can't get in contact with a client anymore, or things like that.
Yeah,
it might be as simple as, well, it may be because the client doesn't see value in you. Just give them a little bit. Just give them a little bit of value. Like, do another web audit. Just be like, hey, here's an updated web audit, or use something like a site speed tool. Find something to give to them, right? It could be little things like that, and these little points that I guess I've experienced through building an agency is what I look forward to when it comes to being here. Is I get to share with all the agencies that are just starting with us, agencies that have got perpetual issues, is to help resolve them, because to grow from 0 to 1 is the most challenging part. Taking it 1 to 10, 10 to 100, that's where it's cookie cutter.
Right.
That's I dare say a lot of people have already figured that out. It's getting that 0 to 1 factor that's difficult. So for me, it's helping them, getting the people from 1 to 10. Obviously it's It's breaking down, understanding what's not essential with them. And I really look forward to this because I'm going to be starting a community that we're going to sort of share around. So it's kind of being announced now. Sorry. I'm kind of breaking the announcement, actually.
You're still building it, or do you have
still building it.
Okay.
So we're going to be inviting a few people just to join and just sort of see how we work together. Just to see, bounce ideas around, if anybody has specific issues, let's try to solve them, right? Because I think everybody has their own journey when it builds an agency, but a lot of them are really common issues that could be overcome really quickly. It could be, I don't have my PayPal set up properly, or things like that. How do I calculate my margins, properly, and little things like that. I think that can go a really long way.
Yeah.
So
familiar
for me,
situations, the others in the group. Yeah.
And I think what to expect from us at SEOReseller now, and with the marketing team who are behind the cameras at the moment.
All of them right
hey
there.
guys, it's crazy. They are some of the most talented people that I've met.
Yeah.
From Chari, who looks after social, Ria, who does design, Ellie, who's one of our content writers, Jello, who's a PPC king of the Philippines. Oh, this guy is a genius, I swear.
Yeah, there he is.
There he is. He's cheekily there. The team works super, super well together, and I guess having my experience on board is now sort of pulling everybody in to start working on little campaigns that are going to help everybody as much as possible. So we look forward to releasing new courses.
Yeah.
We're looking forward to releasing some guides, and this community that we're about to start. So, there's a whole bunch of really exciting things that are happening, and I think for us, it's just pushing through to get these things, getting things started.
Yeah, I'm excited too because I hear about some of the ideas that you've been throwing around.
Yeah.
As it's course down the line. I can't say any of them, but definitely something to look forward to.
Yeah. A
lot of new things that we've never seen before, and it's awesome because you're focusing on the experience.
Yeah.
And
I think for us at the moment, I think the biggest crux is innovation.
Yes.
How do you solve problems that shouldn't be problems at all?
Right.
And that's going to be part of the agency journeys that we're going to have. So I really, really look forward to working with the team here. Julian, who looks after product, who's looking after the dashboards and all of our tools. We have Bernard looking after with yourself as well on the service side. So it's a really, really good team. I'm super excited to be on board after seeing everything that's physically here. I think it's an experience to see and talk to Tim over the phone. Yeah. But when it's here right in front of me as an agency, I was immediately like, I need to be here. Like, exactly. I need to help.
Oh, that's awesome. Here's the best portion of the entire thing. It's now us actually being able to answer any of the questions that you have sent over. So,
unfortunately, we have a screen, so I can't see these questions come in live.
Right. So, here.
Yeah, bring it over. Hey, PPC King. Thanks, buddy.
Angelo not showing his face.
Too easy. What have we got?
Okay, so
all right, hang on.
Now, so we can't read the names.
Okay, we can't read the names. Okay, let's have a look at this. So,
this one's for you. Yeah.
Oh yeah. Okay. Do you want to? Let's start this one. So, how did you use the web order to close? How did you approach the pitch? Okay, so like I said, it was more from me pitching to my friends first of all, saying to them, "Hey, do you guys have any friends or that need work done?" That kind of just spun off. I asked like 20.
yeah. That's
it's the more the merrier. Yeah. And then they sent me through communications to their friends, and just built the rapport there. And the first thing I said was like, "Hey, what's your website?" Okay, this. I was like, "Okay." I was already speaking to them, chatting to them, and the first thing I did was, while I'm chatting to them, was all through Facebook Messenger. I went, "Oh, by the way, here's a web order I just quickly did for you. Have a quick peek. Let me know what your thoughts are. I'm happy to jump on the phone. Let's talk about this. Yeah. I'll call you over a Facebook Messenger now. Have you got 10 minutes? Yes. No." That was
They're really obviously going to be yes, because I don't know what most of this means.
Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, that was a quick one for me. Next one is give me a sec. Let's have a look here. What is the ideal timeline for client intake?
Okay, I can take this one. Sure. And you'll tell me if I'm wrong or right.
Sure.
Normally, when you start any project with us, the reason why it's important for us to have a client intake at the beginning is because most of us here don't understand what the brand is. We don't know who your company is. We don't know who your client is. So the intake doesn't necessarily have to happen after payment. It can actually start And it's actually, my best advice is to do it way before you even pay.
Yeah,
Right?
I paid.
Right, because you're talking to Tim, right? So I'm telling you guys that it would be best that if you could get everything in the beginning, and you tend to do this during your first touch points, like track everything. Like the first meeting or the first pitch that you're gonna have is to understand who they are. So it's a lot of when did you start? Why did you come up with that name for the brand? Or why did you decide to build a shop instead of a website? It can be those kinds of questions, because what you want to do is start building your rapport, but by better understanding who you're talking to. Because the objective is to understand what their practical and what their personal needs are. Once you have most of those and you have a better understanding, it actually prepares you for that moment that Marcus was talking about, where they did 95% and then he did the 5%. Right before the project starts, you have all of the initial information, because when you look at the intake form, be it for web design, social, PPC, and all that, it's really the basics, and they tend to repeat themselves. You could even have the same intake form for most of the other products. It just changes because of like PPC asking for an estimated budget or access or credentials on some site. So an ideal timeline is you can take your time before you actually start, but when you start with us and you make payment, it's crucial in the first 2 weeks. You have to get all that going. You have to get that all through, or else, as some of you have known, we have cycles. A campaign will move if we don't have everything in place. So I hope I answered that without talking too much.
No, you did. You did pretty well. I think the next one's for me. I think.
All right.
So the marketing automation sounds like a pretty neat tool.
Yeah.
Do you have any experience on how to best use it for cold emails? Oh yeah. So the marketing automation is great because you can sort of create and edit your own templates, right?
Yeah.
So as I was saying, if you have a whole list of leads, start with the coldest ones. Right, as cold as they get. Doesn't matter if you know how much about them, doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Just you knowing their name and their email is enough for you to get started. So for the marketing automation side, it's literally send in batches and test and optimize. It's split testing your approach.
Right.
But pick a niche, pick an industry, because the more that you know about that industry, the easier and better it is that makes you look.
Right.
When you start pitching and you start being able to talk their language. Right?
Yeah, because like even from the lead generation side, because you've picked out through your
cherry
search,
pick
it turns it into a group, and then that's part of the marketing automation. So it's easy.
So that's nice and easy. How much of the work did you pass over to SEOReseller at the start? I think this was also for me. Well, like I said, I sort of started with the 2 web dev projects.
But you had how many?
7.
That's fine. It's fine. But
7, 8.
But I guess it's like, how much of the work did you pass over? But why did you? You kind of answered that.
Yeah,
you wanted to
do my own thing, and I mean, I started the process and the work on the other ones as well. So, I guess it was kind of redundant for me to have it taken over.
Yeah.
When I was already 80% done with most of the other sites.
Right.
So that was kind of why I was just like, okay, let's just close these up. These 2 fresh ones, I don't have bandwidth. Sure, take it. Why not? That was kind of the attitude that I had. At least I'd like to believe I had.
So how many of them are now with us?
At the moment, web devs that I've closed that are now with SEOReseller, I think about 13.
Whew.
Let's get a few.
That's why Tim's still with you.
Yeah, that's why Tim loves me. But I'm still trying to on-sell like local SEO.
Oh yeah.
All that stuff. Like at the moment, it's kind of just becoming repetitive messages. So I need to actually refocus and realign my approaches with those 2 actually.
Right.
All right, let's have a look at the next one.
How involved
should the agency be in the reseller's job?
I know that guy. All right.
You know who asked? Okay.
Yeah.
That's actually pretty. I'd love to hear this from both our perspectives, because from my perspective, I always feel like if I'm handing anybody any bit of my work, I need to give them 100% of the information as much as possible. But as far as the execution is concerned, I don't really like to see things until I have like a first revision, which is where, let's say for the web dev project, if it's 5 pages with content written for me, I want to see the first draft of those 5 pages with those 5 pieces of content already lined up for me.
Yeah.
Right. Before I can then present it to the client. If anything, it solves the case for me micromanaging.
Yeah.
Because I don't want to waste time with that. Like, it's to me, like,
and you can't do that forever.
Yeah, I mean, to me, don't get me wrong. I love my clients. I really love my clients because a lot of them I built amazing rapport with.
Right.
You know, but at the same time, when it comes to things that are, to a degree, it's quite cookie cutter.
Mm-hmm.
It's quite cookie cutter. At this point, it's like I don't want to micromanage. Yeah, I still all the client facing stuff is still me.
Yeah.
But to get this stuff done, as long as I give whatever information they need, like SEO reseller needs, I think I'm okay. Like I don't want to step in and micromanage.
No, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Actually, because from my perspective, it depends on the type of business owner you are. At the beginning, of course, we advise that you learn everything that you can from us, especially if you don't have a background like Marcus. Marcus, you had years of experience in
web dev, cold emails,
marketing in general, traditional and digital, photography, right?
Cooking.
So, what Marcus has defined for himself is that he's sort of like a Renaissance man, and there's a lot of sales in play with the way you talk also.
Yeah.
So essentially, if you're a business owner though, if you're more of a manager versus a leader, eventually you'll realize that once you've built up all these campaigns with your clients and you're running social, PPC, SEO, and all the rest, if that's what you're good at, you'll probably learn how to scale everything. And you're the kind of guy that'll be talking to us more about, like, from the product and process perspective, because we have agencies that are like that.
Yeah.
That's the kind of feedback we mostly get.
Yeah.
So if you're like that, then sales should go to somebody else. But with Marcus, I believe it's more of him building up the agency around him, and he's leading from the front. So it depends on the role that you play.
Yeah, it's actually pretty funny. One of my friends described me, one of my ex-colleagues described me as like, you were born selling your mother a son. Literally, that was his description for me, because I wouldn't stop trying to sell things. Anything is like, this is amazing, you got to try this. So yeah, good concept, right?
Right.
All right, the next question is, what can you say about your SaaS solution compared to the other resellers? I would love to tackle this question if it's okay with you.
Yeah.
Because I think...
You'd know it better, actually.
Well, I mean, I use it on a daily basis.
Yeah, exactly.
No, from my perspective, and this is coming from a perspective, like I said, now working on the product, having used the product for a while already, the best thing about the SaaS solution isn't the fact that you have marketing automation, you have lead generation, you have proposal builders, you have web audits, you have a CRM. It's the fact that all of it works in, I hate this word, but all of it works in synergy. Right? To the point where it's just like, it's a process. Lead generation to web audits and marketing automation. Right through to your CRM, because that's where your leads eventually go to you doing a proposal builder, to then going straight into a campaign. You set up a campaign
from the project management side, yeah.
But the SaaS tools don't stop there. You've got the services on top,
right?
And that's what I think that was the defining factor of going. You have these amazing SaaS tools, right, that work in complete sync, and then you get your services fulfilled. So it's like I said, like Tim literally set me up for success. He made it scalable because the SaaS and the fulfillment is scalable. So I guess that in itself is why look at anything else?
Right.
And there's tons of tools outside. You have HubSpot if you want a CRM. You have Pipedrive.
Yep.
You have what else is there? There's like WooRank. There's all these different tools. Right. But try using HubSpot and Pipedrive.
Right. All the integrations you gotta set up, and then it's back to your website. Yeah.
And ActiveCampaign and all of these different things that facilitate. All you really need is something that's a simple process, and that's all this software does is it helps you set up a simple process that's scalable.
Right.
That is dependent on how much man hours, how much manpower you put into it, for you to get more and more and more results.
No, that's true.
That's it. It's like clockwork. So
actually, a big difference is if you, not with resellers, but with the tools that you mentioned in general. How many of the tools or the software companies that you work with actually ask you for feedback? How much of what your business is doing today impacts their growth? I mean, impacts the way they develop and innovate. We are openly telling you guys that anything, come on, because that's what's built what it is today. I mean, it's the legacy of Idamar and Bernard. They've always thought about this. It's not about us. It's about growing our clients, and as a result of that, we grow too. They've always been trying to find out what the problem is between either the process, the product, or the person.
Yeah.
So
actually, it was really funny. Idamar took a few months to try to pull me in, actually. And what pulled me in was after I used the tools, and he was like, "Can I get your opinion on it?" Next thing I know, I'm sitting with him eating falafel and just going, "Here are all the things that we need to look over."
Yeah.
I was going through the SaaS, I was going through my conversations with Tim, and he was just like, "Yeah, can you just with marketing?" That was literally how it came about. So I was really, really excited about that. So a little bit of more backstory there. Let's move to the next question. Yeah. Okay.
Oh, this one's
this is a long one. Okay. Hey, I've been your partner for some time. I knew you just had an update with your dashboard and services, and I'm glad that you guys are creating lots of stuff to help us with our business. Yes. Do we have any other major developments to look forward to? What more can we expect?
I know who this is too.
Cool. I think for us, a lot of this is coming down to tidying up the dashboard to make processes even more streamlined. So I look forward to the optimization of things. I know things haven't always sort of ticked over so easily. We had a couple of hiccups as well.
Yeah.
For like a short period of time, it's like a few hours. And we face those problems. We take them on board, and it's a bit hard to chew, but we get through them. We fix these issues that we had, for instance, with the web audit. That's now resolved. I think what people can expect from that is we're learning too.
Yeah.
We, as much as we are a developing business and there to help agencies, we're also innovating for our own sake and for agency's sake to make processes quicker, better, faster, stronger, like Daft Punk.
Yep. I saw the reference coming.
Oh yeah. But we're always looking for that way just to accelerate businesses quicker and easier. I think that's sort of the key for us.
Right.
Yeah. With the services side, I know that they're working really, I would probably say tightly with product at the moment. I was going to say closely, but I think tightly is better.
Yeah.
They're working quite tightly with them because they're looking to streamline the processes. Because to a degree, it's also quite cookie cutter, but there's still a lot of customizations available.
Yeah.
And the guys in product are helping them optimize.
Right.
Yeah. So you take that. You have a product team that's working on a multi-million-dollar product to help build a process for companies that are worth $500,000.
Yeah.
That expertise is just going to help agencies accelerate and sell to more and more and more clients.
Exactly.
Yeah. I think that's what we can look forward to.
And the best part is, I think I mentioned that from the last question.
Yeah.
We are definitely open to all types of feedback. You are not just limited to the people who are on your dashboard, that are your project managers or your business development officers. You have direct access to us. You can talk to Marcus at SEOReseller.com. You can also talk to me, William, at SEOReseller.com. And we're more than happy to hear all the feedback that you have. We'd love to know what else you need to get this going. And we can definitely take it from there.
Yeah. If there's anything in particular that you'd love to learn, say it's how to increase revenue in your agency. There's a whole different bunch of ways with that, by the way. That's an open book question, I think.
Right.
But if there's anything to do with, let's say, for instance, how do I calculate margins better? How do I know how to sell more?
Yeah.
How do I know where my limitations are? I think those are interesting things to talk about. But obviously, I want to know what you guys want to learn. And I'm more than happy to do the research. I'm more than happy to give my personal experiences and how I've resolved some of these issues as well. Because I think that's valuable to anyone who's just starting out, anybody who's been there for a long time,
Exactly.
anybody who's stepping from product marketing into agencies. I think they're going to probably appreciate all the knowledge from that as well.
Exactly, because it might be the only thing left, or the only thing that they really need to hear.
Yeah.
I guess that's enough time for us.
Yeah.
So, thanks, Marcus.
So easy. Always my pleasure.
A pleasure. How about that beer? Yeah. All right, guys. Thank you so much for joining us. This was an SEO Reseller Masterclass, and we'll see you again next time.
Catch you guys.